Hi, everybody, and welcome, and it's great to have you with us today. I'm Melanie Hastings in for Bruce. Metro is undergoing some big changes with a new general manager at the helm. Paul Wiedefeld outlined the pressing needs of the transit system, and there is a long list. And here to talk about it is David Alpert of Greater Washington. David, good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, Melanie.
So this is a complete overhaul of the system we're talking about here, and track work and delays seem to be the biggest frustration for Metro riders. So first of all, we got to get those trains running and on time.
That's right. New general manager Paul Wiedefeld spent some time after he came on board trying to learn about all of the problems with the system, and he said there were even more than he thought. But he is also committed. He has a detailed plan, 5 pages of all of the things that Metro is going to do, and he's being more transparent than his predecessors about telling riders, here's what we're going to fix, here's when we're going to fix it. Hopefully he'll succeed. He
hasn't been here this long, so how did he go about coming up or compiling this big plan?
Well, what he says is that he really met with a lot of different people, and that's true. He's talked with rider groups, he talked with elected officials, he talked with people in Congress, he talked with frontline workers, and he talks a lot about how he met with a lot of the workers to say, hey, what's making it hard for you to do your jobs, so that he could get all of the information and really put together a detailed list.
All right, so let's talk about the trains and their run times.
Yes.
And why they're not running on time.
That's right.
What is he doing to try to fix that?
Well, there have been a number of problems. One big one that he's identified is that maintenance just hasn't been where it needed to be. The rail cars were down for maintenance too long. There weren't enough rail cars out there on the system. So Blue Line riders, for example, who have faced some of the worst crowding problems, they were told that they would get 8-car trains for almost all of their rush hour trains. And that hasn't actually been the way it turned out to be, because Metro couldn't get all of the cars out there on the line that it was supposed to. And he says he's put together a sort of a special strike force team of people to work on that issue, and 2 others. He has 3 kind of strike teams for these things, and they're going to be working on things like reliability.
Are all the different lines supposed to be operating now with 8-car trains?
There isn't going to be enough. There isn't enough funding or power systems for there to be 8-car trains on the whole system. That's something that a couple of years ago Metro was saying, hey, we should be able to expand to 8-car trains everywhere. But that would require 2 things. 1, buying new rail cars, and 2, they have to upgrade their power stations to power all of those cars going back and forth at the same time. A year or 2 ago, some of the states, Maryland in particular in this particular round, said, you know, we don't want to pay for that. But if Metro could just get its maintenance where it needs to be, it can at least run more 8-car trains than it is today.
But there are supposed to be some new 7000 series train cars coming, right?
That's right.
Are they still coming?
They're on their way. Another one of the problems is that the manufacturers of the cars have encountered a number of different types of delays. Some, the tsunami in Japan a few years back, that actually really set back. Some of the things are, the parts are made in Japan. So, and the company that makes them is headquartered there. So it set some things back. But also, Metro has said it's just not happy with the quality of some of the cars coming off. It's not that they're not safe or that they don't work at all, but there are little things that will cause maintenance headaches in the future. He actually went to meet with the folks from Kawasaki to really talk about what is going on and push them to fix the problems. We'll see how that goes.
So we don't have a date yet when these new rail cars are supposed to be arriving?
That's right, and they're coming in continuously. Metro has a few now. You know, if you ride at certain times, there's maybe 3 or 4 trains today that are running the new cars, so you can ride them now. But they're supposed to continually come along, and it's just been too slow. It's taken too long for each new train to show up.
A lot of riders have complained that they just don't know when the train is coming. They want to know. They want to be informed.
Right.
How is Metro working to turn that around?
Well, there are a lot of different things that go into having better communication, and it's definitely an issue that Metro has talked about, and that Paul Wiedefeld in particular, I'm pleased to hear, has really said he's going to make a big priority. There are already those signs in the stations for, under normal circumstances, how long it's going to be. But what doesn't work so well is when there's some sort of disruption, to make sure that the communication is really clear about that. And he's got a number of different specific things in his plan for what to do, though there aren't, that's an area where I think they have to really come up with some more specifics about how they're going to improve the reporting about when there's something going wrong on the system to be able to tell riders. But he's committed to trying to do better, to come up with detailed ideas and then implement them.
And I understand that part of this new communication includes some signs that will be above ground outside the stations. So you kind of know before you go underground what's happening there.
That can definitely help a lot. There was a time a few years back when I remember that some people at Metro said, if we have signs up high, at least we don't want to tell you if the train is coming too soon, because then you might run down the stairs to get into the station, that sort of thing. It absolutely makes sense for riders to be able to have information about what's going on before they make that decision.
And people who go underground, they pay, they're waiting for the train doesn't come, they've been charged in the past, but now they're going to be able to leave the station and not be charged if a train is not available.
That's right. That was a top request from the Riders Advisory Council, which is a group of riders from all around the region who advise Metro on issues that affect riders. And their top request, which Wiedefeld has said he will implement, is for a grace period. If you go in, your train's not coming, or it's sitting there and it's not moving, and you say, you know what, I have to go, go take a cab, I have to be somewhere, then you can just leave.
So that's great to hear that is coming. I think it's 15 minutes they get.
That's what he said that they're going to look at.
That's the grace period, yeah.
So maybe they'll say, oh, it should be a little bit more or something, once they study it. But that seems like a reasonable amount of time.
Now, some of the heavily used stations those platforms are just so crowded. Are they doing anything to try to relieve that?
That is a big problem, crowding, and Paul Wiedefeld has identified a few things. One is something that's not going to be easy to fix, which is there are some places where they can actually expand platforms or expand access to platforms to fix crowding, like at Gallery Place. When you come in, if you come in from H Street, you're walking down this hallway, and then to the Red Line platform, you're at the end of this platform where this train is not stopped, so it gets really crowded down that end. They have a plan for trying to expand, sort of cut off the corner so you can walk down to a better spot farther along the platform, but that's something that requires some money. Likewise, Metro wants to build a connector from Gallery Place to Metro Center so that people aren't always, if you get into Gallery Place and you really want to go to the orange and blue and silver lines at Metro Center, you could just walk right down instead of waiting for the train. But that would cost money as well. In the short term, he's talked about having some more staff on crowded platforms to maybe help people know where to stand and get people to move. Maybe also using police officers. There needs to be more visibility of police officers anyway to deal with some of the crime issues that have been happening on Metro. And having the police officers there can also help with crowding because they could encourage people to move to the right spot.
Very important, talking about that safety and seeing those police officers there on the platforms and in the parking lots. You mentioned financial issues, and all of these upgrades don't come without a cost. We're hearing that the fares will be going up. What are you hearing as far as how much?
Well, this year Metro has said so far that they're going to try to avoid having either more money come from the jurisdictions or from fares. But it's inevitable that in the next budget round, they've always had a fare increase every other year, and it's inevitable that they'll have to have one. In the long run, there's a great graph that they have in the budget. It's a really sad graph, but also very helpful, which just shows a line of expenses in the long run going up and a line of revenues going up, but not nearly so much. So you sort of get this widening gap. They're going to have to find ways to close that gap. That might mean getting more revenue. The best way is to encourage riders to come back who've abandoned the system and start riding again so that they can get more revenue. Or increase the number of jobs near Metro, which will make it so that more people want to take Metro. They're also going to have to keep costs down over the long run as well.
And of course, if the service isn't there, people are not willing to shell out any more for a fare, right? I mean, it upsets them, and they just sort of abandon the Metro system as a result.
That's right. The public has really lost a lot of confidence over the last few years since the 2009 Red Line crash, and it's important for Metro to get it back. Paul Wiedefeld has identified a lot of ways that he wants to try to do that, and he's been very open, which is really great because that will help people get the confidence that they need. But he also, of course, has to deliver on those, and he knows that.
After the smoke incident at L'Enfant, the radio communication issue came up, and I know they're making some upgrades there too, and also with cell phone, how you can hear underground and improving that.
One of the items on Paul Wiedefeld's report is that they are going to start wiring the tunnels for both cell phone and radio access. A number of years back, there was a plan where the cell phone carriers would fund doing that, but they created this sort of consortium, and then that organization the cell phone companies made, it went bankrupt, so it just was a big mess. It wasn't getting done. And so Metro has now actually said that they're just going to pay for it themselves, and they're just going to put the wires in the tunnels that they need to carry the signals and receive the signals, and then that will help with both the radio and cell phone access. Okay,
one quick question before we go. The plan is out there now, and it's a big plan. How long till we start seeing some changes, some positive changes?
Hopefully, I mean, looking at what he lists, there are small things that might happen by the summer. There are longer-term things that will happen over the next year. There are things that will take 5 years. There are things that will take quite a while. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll see some immediate changes. I think it seems like he's trying to target a few short-term changes now, some bigger changes soon, and so forth.
Be patient, folks. It's coming, right? David Alpert with Greater Washington. Thanks for coming in today. Always good to talk to you.
Thanks so much.
And we'll take a quick break here. We'll be back with more News Talk right after this.